March 2025. Japan's defense minister walks into the Pentagon with one proposal. 90 days later, the Philippines loses something we've held since 1946. The right to say no to someone else's war. And most Filipinos still don't know it happened. I'm Miro. Today I'm breaking down exactly how this happened, who decided it, and what it means for every Filipino watching right now. This isn't conspiracy, this is documented policy. Here's how military planning in Asia used to work. Different regions were treated as separate security zones. Taiwan handled Taiwan. Korea handled the Korean peninsula. The Philippines managed its own territory and waters. Separate, independent, sovereign decisions. Then in March 2025, Japan proposed something called One Theater. Sometimes it's referred to as OCEAN, One Coordinated East Asian Network. The idea is simple, but the impact is massive. One theater removes those separate zones. It says the East China Sea, the South China Sea, the Korean Peninsula, and everything in between, including Philippine territory, is now one unified military operation zone. Not separate, not independent. One. And here's what that means for the Philippines. If something happens in Taiwan, we don't get to debate. We don't get to vote. We don't get to decide. We respond. Automatically. The decision is already made. Let me slow this down for a second, because this is where most people miss the real shift. When governments remove choice, they don't announce it loudly. They don't say, "You no longer get a say." They do it quietly through coordination frameworks, technical language, and joint planning structures that sound harmless on the surface. Words like integration, interoperability, coordination. None of those words sound dangerous, but together they remove independence without firing a single shot. And this is why One Theater is different from every agreement before it. The Mutual Defense Treaty still left room for interpretation. EDCA still allowed political discretion. Joint exercises were still optional. One Theater is not optional. It doesn't ask whether the Philippines wants to be involved. It assumes involvement as the default setting. That's the shift. And once a system is designed that way, reversing it becomes almost impossible. Because backing out doesn't just mean changing policy. It means dismantling command structures, undoing coordination protocols, and walking away from allies who have already planned around your participation. That's why this matters now, not later. Because once a crisis starts, no one stops to ask philosophical questions about sovereignty. Decisions move at the speed of systems, and the system is already built. Here's the timeline, because this is where everything becomes clear. March 2025. Japan's Defense Minister General Nakatani meets with U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and proposes One Theater, treating the entire region as a single integrated battlefield. June 2025. The Philippines publicly commits. Defense Secretary Gilberto Teodoro Jr. announces the Philippine military will operationalize One Theater. Chief of Staff Romeo Bronner is assigned to oversee it. But this started even earlier. July 2024, Japan and the Philippines signed the Reciprocal Access Agreement. It allows Japanese self-defense forces to deploy on Philippine soil for joint training and disaster relief. September 2025. That agreement officially enters into force. October 2025. Japan conducts its first exercise under the agreement, called Doshin Bayanihan 525. They use KC-130H transport aircraft, the same aircraft used to evacuate civilians during conflict. Around the same time, a real earthquake hits Cebu. Japan deploys those same aircraft for disaster response. Training becomes a live test. December 2025, Australia, Japan, the Philippines, and the United States launch the Combined Coordinating Center. This is not a discussion forum. It's an operational command center. It coordinates intelligence, exercises, and crisis response. And this is the part every Filipino needs to understand. When this center issues operational orders during a Taiwan crisis, Filipino soldiers follow them. Not because Congress voted, not because the Filipino people were consulted, but because the structure already exists. Now listen to how our own leaders describe this. December 2025. Defense Secretary Gilberto Teodoro Jr. says, word for word, If something happens to Taiwan, inevitably we will be involved. Inevitably. Not maybe, not if we choose. Already decided. He continues, Northern Luzon Command will be at the front line of that operation. Think about what that means. If you're from Cagayan, from Isabela, from Batanes, just 190 kilometers from Taiwan, your home has been designated as the front line, and you weren't asked, your mayor wasn't consulted, your governor didn't vote. The Filipino people were never part of the decision. Let me be clear before we go further. This isn't about calling Japan evil. This isn't about attacking America. This isn't about accusing our leaders of betrayal. This is about one simple fact. One of the biggest strategic decisions in our modern history was made without public debate. That's not theory, that's reality, and the infrastructure already reflects it. The North-South Commuter Railway, funded by Japan, connects Metro Manila directly to Clark Air Base and EDCA sites in central and northern Luzon. Yes, commuters will use it, but the route, capacity, and design are optimized for rapid military movement north. Subic Bay, modernized with Japanese support, is officially civilian, but classified as dual use. That means civilian in peace, military in conflict. Itbayat Island, the closest Philippine territory to Taiwan, now hosts a Coast Guard station presented as humanitarian. Defense analysts describe it more accurately as a staging hub. Everything has two purposes. We're told about one. If this feels familiar, it should. Different powers, same pattern, decisions made elsewhere. Filipinos deal with the consequences. The difference now? We're supposedly independent, which raises a serious question. Imagine you're a mother in Apari, Cagayan. Your son serves in the Philippine Air Force. Tensions rise across the Taiwan Strait. Forces mobilize. Then the Combined Coordinating Center issues orders. Your son is deployed north. Not because the Philippines declared war, not because Congress voted, not because the people were consulted, but because the system was already in place. Inevitably, we will be involved. So here's the question every Filipino should ask. Is this what sovereignty looks like? Because sovereignty means choice. And if involvement is automatic, if our territory is already designated as the front line, what choice is left? Now compare this with what Japan did. In March 2025, Japan publicly announced evacuation plans for the Sakishima Islands, their territory closest to Taiwan. They told civilians exactly what would happen, how they'd evacuate, where they'd go. Now ask yourself, where is the Philippines' evacuation plan for Northern Luzon? Where is the public discussion? Why do Japanese citizens get transparency, while Filipinos find out through foreign policy papers? This video isn't telling you what to think, it's telling you what already happened. The agreements are signed, the infrastructure is built, the command center is active, and the word used wasn't maybe, it was inevitably. I made this video because Filipinos deserve to know what's being done in our name. If this made you think, share it. If you have family in Northern Luzon, send it to them. If you know someone in the military, let them see it. This isn't anti-anyone. It's pro-Filipino. One last thing. While governments make decisions without asking citizens, individuals can still build personal independence. I created a free cruise freedom blueprint showing how I built location-independent income. No guarantees, no hype, just the system. Link is below, because we can't control what's decided in closed rooms, but we can control what we do next. Inevitably, we will be involved. Defense Secretary Gilberto Teodoro Jr. Now you know, I'm Miro. Thanks for watching.